Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed your election day off. Now it is time to get back to work. All right, so our objective for this lesson is this. Students will find the y-intercept of a table. That's one. Students will determine if the table is proportional or non-proportional. That's what we did in the previous lesson. Students will write the linear equation to a given table. So there's three things that we need to be doing on this lesson, and there's really going to be four. And the fourth one is going to be finding the slope. All right, so let's get into it. So first things first, um, in order to find the y-intercept, I have steps here, and the first thing that I have is finding the slope. Now, I didn't necessarily give you these points to you or these directions to you in the last video like this, but I'm giving it to you now. And the reason why I have that first is because the first step to finding the y-intercept is to find the slope. And we should be fine on finding the slope because we did that in our previous lesson. Okay, but I have these points available for you if you need them, and I'm going to use these exact points as I demonstrate. But what I want you to do first is I want you to pause the video and jot down the steps for finding the slope. Pause the video. I hope you paused it because I'm moving on. Now I want you to jot down the steps for finding the y-intercept. Pause the video, jot it down. All right. I hope that you paused those two down. I'm sorry. I hope you paused the video and wrote those two down. All right. Now I am going to demonstrate this for you. And let's bring this guy up some. All right. So the first thing that we need to do was to find the slope. All right. So in finding the slope, remember the first thing was to select 2 points, right? So I'm going to select the 2 points and then I'm going to label it x1, y1, x2, y2. All right. So let's go ahead and get our 2 points in. I'm going to use a red pencil, changing my color font. Let's go with this one, and then let's go with this one. So here's our x1, y1, x2, and y2. All right. So now I've selected my 2 points. And now I'm going to label, I've labeled them, and now I'm going to put it into the slope formula, which is this guy up here. And I really shouldn't be doing this because well, I'm doing this because this is a part of what we're doing, but we should know how to do this. So it's y2, which is 25, minus y1, which is 15, over your 6 minus 2, okay? And I'm going to use my Desmos calculator to simplify this. Of course, we could solve this manually and by hand. Sorry guys, this is my Avid Canvas course. Just bear with me and let me get into my math course. All right, let me get my online calculator. There it is, fraction bar, and we're doing 25 minus 15 over 6 minus 2. And it's telling me that my slope is 2.5, all right? And sometimes you may get that as a fraction, which will be 5 over 2, but we can leave it at 2.5 for now. So if we go back to our class kick, I'm going to shorten this up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the text box. This is what I'm expecting to see on you guys' work. Let's shorten this text box up. M equals 2.5. And that is step number 1. Step number 2, okay? Step number 2 says, write down the slope-intercept equation. Now, I didn't give that to you, but I'm going to give it to you now. Your slope-intercept equation is this. Y equals mx plus b. All right? So step 2 is exactly that. Y equals mx plus b. All right. Now you may have a question. What is m and what is m? What is x and what's b? Well, first of all, let me go ahead and explain it to you for a second. Y and x are simply just the variables in the equation. So we have our x coordinate, we have our y coordinate. Okay, x is our dependent quantity and y is our dependent quantity. We're going to get off into independent and dependent in a later lesson. But m represents the slope. Remember, we talked about that. M is the slope, it's the rate of change, it's the unit rate. That's m. B, however, is the new one. B is our y-intercept. So down here where it says solve for B, that's saying solve for our y-intercept. I'm gonna keep it moving, but m and b is our m is our slope, b is our y-intercept. All right. So we've written down our slope-intercept equation. Step 3. Plug the slope into the equation. This is what it looks like. We know that our slope is 2.5, so it'll be y equals 2.5x plus b. Step 4. Select a set of points. Now I'm going to erase what I've circled right here. And what step 4 means, it literally means I'm just going to pick a point. It can be any point you want. And for the sake of what we're doing, I'm going to select 4 and 20. All right, I'm selecting 4 and 20. So on this one, I'm going to put 4, 20. That's the point I want. 5. Plug the slope and the selected points into the equation. Now what this means is this. All right. This means that I'm going to take my points. What do you mean by your points? Well, in my equation, my 4 is x and the 20 is y. So when I plug these points into the equation, what that looks like, the equation is y equals, right? Well, it will become 20 equals 2.5 parentheses 4, which is the x, plus b. Now what has happened is now we've written an equation that is going to solve for b. Now we have all numbers and we need to write an equation that's going to tell me what b is. Now this is something that you guys did in your previous math course where you used where you solved an equation with variables on one side. So I'm going to walk you through that right now in case you forgot how to do that. All right? So first let's come down here and I'm going to rewrite this equation. Let's give it some space. And so our equation is 20 equals 2.5 parentheses 4. This is where we're going to need to do our work at, plus b. All right. So there's our equation. So the first thing that we need to do when solving this equation, if you forgot, is we need to multiply. First thing I'm going to do is multiply. The first thing I'm going to do is multiply. So the first thing, 1, I'm going to multiply. All right. So what does that look like? What am I going to multiply? I'm going to multiply these two quantities. So I'm going to do 2.5 times 4. If you don't know what that is, use your calculator. 2.5 times 4 tells me that the answer is 10. Okay. So let's go back to our class kick. 2.5 times 4 is 10. And I'll show that here. 2.5 times 4 equals 10. Okay. Let's bring this down here by the multiply. All right. Next step. So we got 20 equals 10 plus b. So step 2 is going to be add or subtract to, that's not right, to isolate, I'm just going to put ISO, the variable, or let's just call it the b. All right. All right. In this case, if you remember, we're going to subtract 10 from both sides. So I don't know if you guys remember this, but what this looks like here is minus 10, and on the other side we minus 10 or subtract 10. When you subtract 10 like that, what happens is this gives me a 0 pair, and I'm left with 20 minus 10 is 10, and then I have equals, and then I have b. So I'm just going to use an eraser right here and erase this line right here and make it a little shorter. This is how I solved for my variable. So if I come back up here to my steps now, I have b equals 10. So now I have solved for my b. So when you guys do your work, I want to see all 6 of these steps just like this. So now this is what I'm going to ask for you in your work on today. Okay? I'm going to move this out the way. This is what I'm going to ask for as your answer. So I'm looking for m. M equals 2.5. B equals 10. All right? Is it proportional or non-proportional? Well, let me go ahead and tell you this. If you get a B, if you get a y-intercept, if your y-intercept is anything other than 0, it is non-proportional. Let me say it again. If your y-intercept is anything other than 0, it's non-proportional. If you go through all of these steps and you get a 0 here for B, then it's proportional. Let me say it again. If you go through all of these steps and you get anything other than 0 for B, then it is non-proportional. But if you get 0, it's proportional. So this is going to be non-proportional. And then remember, we can always do y over x. Well, we got 20 over 4. We know 20 divided by 4 is 5. So let's just pick another point. Remember, we talked about that, the y over x. So if we do 15 divided by 2, that gives us 7.5. We know that that's not proportional. The other point was 25 over 6. That's not giving us the same constant. So that also clarifies that it's non-proportional. Now, here's the last piece that I need you to do. Okay? You're going to take your m and your b and you're going to put it into slope-intercept equation. What does that look like? Remember, our slope-intercept equation was this. Okay? So we know what m is now. We know what b is now. So our slope-intercept equation, we're just going to replace the m and b and put it in there. So that will become y equals 2.5, which is our slope, x plus 10 is our b. This is what I'm looking for in this assignment, these 4 things. All right, guys, I know that's a lot of information. If you need to go back and look at a certain part, rewatch it, and meet me over in Class Kick, and we're going to work through this. All right, peace.